The galaxy had been quiet for many years. Under the flag of the Galactic Unity Council, hundreds of worlds shared peace, trade, and new technology. Planets rich in metal and crystal sent their goods to the central worlds, and in return, they received protection. The Council believed that war had become an old story, something only the primitive races still remembered. Among all these worlds, Earth sat far away at the edge of the spiral arm. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were seen as a small species with little power. The Council called them a young civilization. They said humans were emotional, unpredictable, and still learning how to live among the stars. But humans remembered. They remembered wars. They remembered what happened when peace turned into control. And they remembered how to fight when no one else believed they could. It started with a sudden silence from the Venus relay station. The satellites stopped sending data. Then out of nowhere, the Mars colony defense grid went offline. General Marcus Hale, commander of Earth's old defense command, stood inside the control room of Fort Nova, watching as every red dot on the holographic map blinked out one by one. Another blackout. "Sir," said Lieutenant Ross, his voice uneasy, "that's the third one this week." Could it be a system failure? Marcus didn't answer right away. His gray eyes stayed fixed on the map. "No," he said slowly. "This isn't a failure. Someone is cutting us off." He turned to the large observation window. Outside, the Earth's orbit was filled with quiet light from thousands of satellites, each one built during a time when humans feared invasion. For centuries, they had trusted the Council's peace, but Marcus had been a soldier long enough to know that peace was only safe until someone found it useful to break it. A week later, the sky above Mars burned red. Without warning, massive alien ships appeared from deep space, ships bearing the symbol of the Terran Dominion, one of the Council's own member races. The Dominion claimed that Earth had hidden forbidden weapons, and under Council law, they had the right to investigate. But when the first bombardment started, everyone knew it wasn't an investigation. It was war. In the first few hours, the Mars colonies were shattered. Thousands of humans fled into underground tunnels while the sky turned to fire. Across the solar system, distress signals screamed out, begging for help. But the Council stayed silent. On Earth, panic began to spread. People looked up at the stars, asking the same question. Why are they doing this? Marcus didn't wait for answers. He called every military outpost still listening and gave a single command: activate Galaxy Forge. Galaxy Forge was not just a defense system. It was a secret born from Earth's darkest wars. Decades ago, when humans joined the Council, they had agreed to dismantle all their old weapons. Mass drivers, plasma cannons, even the Titan war machines that once guarded the planet. But not everything had been destroyed. Some officers had hidden pieces of the old defense grid deep beneath the planet, buried in forgotten silos, and sealed with codes that only a few still knew. Marcus was one of those few. "Sir," Ross said, his voice low, "the Council banned this. If they find out we reactivated..." Marcus turned to him with a calm face. "The Council is gone, son. They sold us out. The Dominion didn't attack without their blessing." Ross swallowed hard. "Then what do? We remind them what humans build when they're afraid," Marcus said. Far below the frozen plains of Siberia, a tremor rolled through the ice. Deep under the ground, inside an ancient vault of steel and frost, a machine opened its glowing eyes for the first time in 200 years. It was the first Titan unit, named Helios. A towering war machine of metal bones and fusion heart, built during the last days of the resource wars. It had been too powerful, too dangerous, and so it was buried away. But now its systems came online again. The hangar lights flickered and steam hissed as the locks opened. Inside the cockpit, pilot Nora Vance sat in silence. She had been a farmer before she joined the Defense Force. She never thought she would be chosen to pilot a Titan, but in the chaos of war, fate chose quickly. Her hand rested on the control stick. "Command, this is Helios Unit 1, she said over the comm. "Power core active. System stable. Confirmed." Marcus's voice replied through static. "Your mission is defense of Orbit Line 3. The Dominion fleet will reach atmosphere in 20 minutes. Nora took a deep breath. The inside of the Titan hummed like a heartbeat. "Copy that," she said. "Let's show them what Earth still remembers." The Dominion fleet approached with full confidence. Their ships were huge, sleek arcs of silver and violet light. They carried plasma cannons that could melt entire cities. The alien commander, Varn Tal, watched from his bridge with a cruel smile. "These humans still use old satellites," he said, looking at the hologram. "Pathetic. This will be over in an hour." He raised his hand. "Begin orbital strike." Bright beams cut through the sky, burning through Earth's upper atmosphere. Explosions lit the night and the world trembled. But in the chaos, something unexpected appeared on the radar. Massive energy signatures rising from the planet's surface. "What is that?" one of his officers asked. Varn frowned. "No readings like that exist in our database." Moments later, the clouds parted, and the first Titan leaped upward through the storm. Helios rose from the ground, flames trailing from its thrusters. Its metal skin reflected the firelight of Earth below. The Dominion fleet froze. "What is that thing?" Varn shouted. Then Helios fired. A beam of golden plasma shot from its right arm, striking the nearest cruiser. The ship's shields shattered, and a second later the entire hull broke apart. On Earth's surface, people watched the sky as the first alien ship exploded. Cheers spread through the shelters, through the control rooms, through every radio still alive. "Direct hit," Ross shouted. Marcus didn't smile. He only whispered, "That's one." Many more to go. As the battle continued, more Titans joined the fight, old machines reawakened from forgotten bunkers. Helios, Goliath, Ares, and Aurora, names that had once been legends in military archives, now moved again like living giants. The Dominion fleet began to fall back. Their energy weapons were strong, but the Titans moved unpredictably, piloted by humans who refused to give up. Each strike from Earth's defenders sent another alien ship burning into the void. On the bridge of the flagship, fear crept into Varn's eyes. "How can they fight like this?" "Their world should be broken," an officer replied, trembling. "They fight like they have nothing left to lose, Admiral." Varn looked again at the screen, at the burning wreckage of his fleet. "Monsters," he whispered. "They're monsters." Back on Earth, Marcus watched the data come in. The Titans were winning small victories, but the enemy still had numbers. This was only the first wave. He knew that once the Council saw what humans had done, they would send others, stronger fleets, more advanced armies. But for now, humanity had done the impossible. They had stood against the galaxies, might and survived the first strike. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment and thought of the message he would send to the Council. If they ever asked for peace, he would tell them the truth. Humans were never monsters by choice, but when the galaxy forced them to kneel, they rose with fire in their hearts. That night, as the world cooled under the stars, the Titans stood silent among the clouds, their armor glowing softly in the dark. Nora sat in her cockpit looking out over the horizon. "Maybe they'll finally remember," she whispered. "Humans don't beg. We endure," the radio crackled. Marcus's voice came through. "Good work, Nora. You've just given Earth one more day." Nora smiled faintly. "Then we'll make tomorrow count." Far above, wrecks of alien ships drifted across the night sky like broken stars. The galaxy had made its first mistake. It had underestimated Earth, and Earth had just begun to awaken. The smoke of battle still drifted across the skies of Earth. Half-burnt alien ships floated above the atmosphere, glowing like dying stars. The sound of thunder came not from storms, but from the massive engines of human Titans walking across the ground. Inside the command room of Fort Nova, General Marcus Hale stood quietly, watching the display of red and blue lights on the holographic map. Each blue dot represented a Titan, each red one an alien ship still alive. The first wave of the Dominion attack was broken, but more signals were appearing from the dark edge of the solar system. Lieutenant Ross spoke nervously. "Sir, the next enemy fleet will arrive in 20 hours. They are bigger than before, at least 10 dreadnoughts and hundreds of smaller ships." Marcus nodded slowly. "They will not stop. They think this planet is weak." He looked around the room. The officers were tired but alert. They had seen things no one thought possible. Machines waking after centuries. Humans fighting back with power that was supposed to be buried forever. Marcus pressed a control button, and the image of an old metal symbol appeared on the screen. It was the mark of Galaxy Forge, a circle with fire lines around it. "Galaxy Forge is awake now," he said. "But it is not just the Titans. There are other systems still sleeping under Earth's surface, machines built when humanity feared the end of the world. We will bring them back. Far away, Deep under the ocean floor near the Pacific Trench, another facility opened its steel gates for the first time in 300 years. The water boiled as giant metal cranes rose from the depths, pulling out long, dark shapes that glowed with blue light. They were the Skyguard drones, unmanned flying warships made during the last age of Earth's great wars. They were built to defend the planet when humans had no allies. For generations they slept, hidden from the eyes of the Galactic Council. Now, one by one, their engines roared to life. Above the waves, Captain Mira Chen, commander of the Naval Defense Group, stood on her deck as the sea opened below her. She watched the glowing shapes rise from the deep, water dripping off their sharp edges. They were real, she whispered. The old stories were true. The drones lifted into the air and formed lines above the ocean, scanning the horizon. Their onboard AI systems recognized old Earth codes that Marcus had reactivated. The words appeared on every screen. Directive confirmed. Defensive Sol system authorized. On Mars, the survivors of the colony crawled out from their shelters. Many of them had lost their homes, their crops, their families. But when they looked up and saw the Titans walking through the dust storms, they felt something rise inside them. Hope. Children pointed at the sky, where the wreckage of alien ships still burned. One of them whispered, "The monsters are afraid of us now." In the orbit of Jupiter, a small scout ship from the Dominion fleet sent a message back to its command base. The recording showed giant human machines standing among the clouds, their armor glowing like suns. The alien commander who received the footage felt a cold fear crawl across his chest. He turned to his officers and said, "The humans have awakened something ancient. If we continue, we might lose everything." But orders from the Galactic Council came quickly. Continue the operation. The humans must be subdued before other species follow their example. And so the second invasion began. Back on Earth, Nora Vance sat inside her Titan, Helios, as engineers refueled it. The hangar smelled of oil, heat, and dust. The wall shook as other Titans powered up beside her. She looked across to the next machine, Goliath, piloted by Darren Cole, an old friend from the colony wars. "You ready for round 2? Darren asked through the comm line. Nora gave a tired smile. "Were we ever ready for round 1? Darren laughed softly. "We'll make do. We always do." A voice came through the speakers. It was General Marcus. "All units, this is command. We are detecting new enemy fleets entering the system. Prepare to move to defensive line 4. Titans will hold orbit range. Skyguard will provide air cover. You all know what is at stake." Nora gripped the control sticks. The cockpit lights dimmed and the hum of the fusion core filled her ears. The Titan felt alive, like a sleeping beast waking under her control. Hours later, the night sky above Earth turned bright again. The second Dominion fleet had arrived. 10 massive dreadnoughts moved into orbit, each one carrying hundreds of smaller ships. Their formation looked like a ring of fire around the planet. Admiral Varn Tal, the same alien who had led the first attack, stood on the bridge of his new flagship. His anger was cold. This time, he said to his officers, "We erase their machines. We erase their courage." He didn't know that Earth's defenses were ready. The Skyguard drones flew in a perfect arc over the clouds, their engines glowing blue. Below them, the Titans marched toward the launch platforms. Hundreds of smaller defense cannons across the continents turned toward the sky. Marcus gave the signal. "Galaxy Forge, initiate full countermeasure." And then the sky exploded. From the ground, it looked like the stars were falling. Plasma bolts, missiles, and laser beams filled the atmosphere as both sides clashed. The Skyguard drones dove into the enemy formation, firing rapid energy bursts that tore through the alien fighter lines. The Titans used their massive railguns to strike at enemy cruisers. Inside Helios, Nora's hands moved quickly across the controls. She locked onto an approaching warship and fired a plasma beam. The shot cut straight through the ship's front, sending it spinning into the ocean below. "Target neutralized," she shouted. "Good work," Marcus replied. "Keep them out of the lower atmosphere." On her side screen, she could see Goliath taking heavy hits. Darren's voice crackled through the comm. "They're all over me." "Shields dropping fast." "I'm coming to you," Nora yelled. Helios turned sharply, boosters burning as she flew toward his position. She extended the Titan's shield array and intercepted the next blast aimed at Goliath. The impact shook her cockpit, but she held firm. "You owe me one, Darren. Add it to the list." He laughed back. The two titans moved together, fighting side by side as fire and metal filled the sky. In the command center, Ross watched as data flowed across the screen. "Sir, their main fleet is breaking formation. The smaller ships are retreating." Marcus studied the numbers. "They're regrouping." "Wait for it." Suddenly the lights flickered. The sensors screamed. A new signal appeared. Something massive, bigger than any dreadnought they had seen. Ross's eyes widened. "What is that?" Marcus stared silently. The signal came from the far edge of the solar system. "That," he said slowly, "is their flagship." Meanwhile, far from Earth, deep in the frozen deserts of Pluto, another ancient system came online. It had been silent since before humanity joined the stars. Inside a buried control room, screens lit up with old Earth language. Galaxy Forge node, Pluto defense cannon online. A robotic voice spoke through static. Awaiting command authorization. Marcus received the message on his private channel. His heart pounded. "They never found this one," he whispered. He pressed the code that only he and a few others knew. Authorization Hail Prime 7. The planet Pluto began to glow. Its surface split open, revealing a massive barrel stretching for kilometers. Energy gathered at the tip, a weapon forgotten by time. Marcus turned to his officers. "Tell our pilots to clear the upper orbit." "The forge of the old world is ready." Ross hesitated. "Sir, this cannon was banned for a reason. The power could save us," Marcus said firmly. "And right now, that's all that matters." In the distance, the alien flagship entered the outer system. Its shadow stretched across the stars. Varntal watched his screens as human ships tried to stand against him. "They're desperate," he said coldly. "End this." Then a warning tone filled his ship. His officers turned pale. "Admiral, there's an energy surge coming from Pluto." Before he could respond, the beam fired. A line of golden light shot through the darkness, cutting across space faster than sound. It struck the alien flagship straight through the core. The ship's entire front half vanished in a wave of energy. Barnes' eyes widened in disbelief. The shockwave spread across his fleet, disabling engines and communications. From Earth, everyone saw it, the flash across the night sky. "Brighter than any sunrise," Ross whispered. "They'll never forget that sight." Marcus stood still. "No," he said quietly. "They'll never forget Earth." Hours later, silence returned to space. The second invasion was over. The enemy had retreated, leaving behind wrecks and broken pride. Nora landed Helios near the coast. The Titan's armor was scorched, but still standing. She stepped out and looked up at the sky. For the first time in her life, she saw stars that no longer felt distant. They felt earned. Marcus's voice came over the comm. "We held them again. The Council will not take this lightly. Prepare the next stage," Nora nodded. "What's the next stage, sir?" Marcus looked at the hologram showing the burning remains of the enemy fleet. "The galaxy now knows we're not their servants," he said. "Next, they'll know what it means to face the monsters of Earth." For the first time in many years, the grand chamber of the Galactic Unity Council was silent. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat around a glowing circle, their faces pale as the holoscreens replayed the same terrifying image again and again. A golden beam shooting from the far edge of the solar system, cutting through an entire fleet in one strike. It was the Pluto cannon, an ancient human weapon that most council members believed was only a myth. Now, that myth had destroyed one of the galaxy's strongest armadas. Counselor Rynoth, a tall, silver-skinned being from the race of the Eldari, spoke first. His voice trembled as he looked at the others. "They said Earth was weak. They said humans had no fleet left. But look at this." He pointed to the burning image on the screen. "Their planet hides weapons that can erase worlds." From the other side of the circle, the Varan representative stood up, his long arms shaking. The Dominion fleet was crushed, 10 dreadnoughts gone, hundreds of ships lost. "This is not weakness, this is madness." The council chairperson, Alar Prime, tried to calm them. "Enough," she said. "We must understand what happened before we make any decisions." But no one wanted to listen. Panic spread through the chamber like fire. Every race had believed the humans were under control. For years they had treated Earth as a small world on the edge of civilization, a member of the Council but not a threat. Now that belief was broken. "They broke the Galactic Weapon Treaty," shouted another voice. "They reactivated forbidden systems." They were attacked first, someone else replied. Wouldn't you do the same if your planet was invaded? The arguments grew louder. The council chamber became a storm of voices. Fear, anger, and disbelief. Only Rhinoth stayed quiet for a moment, his sharp eyes fixed on the image of Earth. We made a mistake, he whispered. We thought humans were peaceful because they smiled. But we never asked what made them learn peace. Far away on Earth, General Marcus Hale stood on the balcony of Fort Nova, watching the sunrise. The sky was still filled with faint trails of smoke from the last battle. He hadn't slept in 2 days. The victory against the Dominion fleet had been costly. Several Titans were damaged beyond repair, and hundreds of Skyguard drones were lost. But they had survived, and that was what mattered. Lieutenant Ross came up behind him holding a report tablet. Sir, the repair teams are working on Goliath and Helios. They'll be ready in 2 days. Also, messages are coming in from other planets. Marcus turned slightly. Messages? Yes, sir, Ross said. Some are from colonies asking for protection. Others are from independent worlds, people saying they want to join Earth's defense alliance. Marcus nodded slowly. Fear spreads faster than war. The galaxy just saw what humans can do. Now they're trying to decide if they should fear us or follow us. He looked toward the horizon where the sea met the morning light. We'll have to be careful. If we become what they fear, then we truly become monsters. In a secret chamber beneath the council's main city, a small group of leaders met away from the public eye. They called themselves the Core Committee, those who controlled most of the galaxy's fleets and resources. Rhinoth was among them. He spoke quietly but firmly. The humans will not stop here. If we do nothing, every species in the galaxy will rise behind them. The balance of power will end. One of the others, a dark-scaled creature from the Varan Dominion, hissed angrily. We already tried to subdue them. You saw what happened. How do you stop monsters who can destroy a fleet with a single shot? Rhinoth leaned forward. You don't fight them head-on. You study them. You understand what they fear, and then you use it. The others nodded slowly, though fear still flickered in their eyes. The idea of studying humans had been done before, but this time they would look deeper. They would send spies, scientists, and diplomats disguised as friends, all to uncover Earth's secrets. The committee decided to call it Operation Veil. On Earth, the people were rebuilding. Factories in Asia and Africa worked day and night, turning old machines into new ships. Cities that once had no armies now trained pilots for the Skyguard. Every child in school learned not just math or science, but also how to operate emergency shelters and communication lines. Humans were changing. In the main hangar, Nora Vance walked beside her Titan Helios. The machine's armor was covered with scars from the last battle, but it stood tall and ready. Darren Cole, pilot of Goliath, joined her with a grin. They say we scared the whole galaxy, Nora. You ever think you'd live to see that day? She smiled faintly. Scared or not, they'll come again. No one likes to lose to humans. He nodded, running a hand along the Titan's leg armor. I heard Command found something new in the old archives. Some kind of human ship built before the Council existed. They call it the Guardian Ark. Maybe it can help us when the next wave comes. Nora's eyes widened slightly. Another old weapon? Darren shrugged. Not just a weapon. A fortress that can move between stars. She looked thoughtful. Then maybe it's time we stop just defending. Maybe it's time we show the galaxy what strength really means. Meanwhile, deep in the shadow of Jupiter, a small alien scout ship floated quietly. It carried 3 members of the Council's secret team for Operation Veil. Their task was to study the humans up close. They watched the Titans from afar, recording every movement, every heat signal. One of them whispered, "They move like living things. How do they control machines that size with such speed?" The leader, a scientist named Tirak, adjusted his lens. Because they are part of them. Look closely. Their neural systems link directly. They don't just control the machines. They become them, he paused, his voice lowering. If this continues, humans may evolve beyond anything we can predict. Before he could continue, his scanner beeped. A human patrol drone had detected them. Hide the ship, he shouted, but it was too late. A beam of light cut through the darkness. The drone scanned their hull, then sent a message back to Earth Command. Unidentified vessel detected in restricted orbit. Awaiting orders. Marcus received the report within minutes. Bring it in, he ordered. Let's see who's spying on us. The alien agents realized they had been caught. They tried to flee, but human interceptors surrounded them within moments. For the first time, the Watchers became the watched. In the council chamber, the reports came back. The spies had failed. Panic returned. Rhinoth stood once again before the others. You see? Even our secret teams cannot touch them now. They have learned too fast. Council Chairperson Elar Prime looked weary. If we cannot control them, perhaps we must talk to them. We cannot afford another war. But Rhinoth shook his head. You do not understand. To humans, peace is only a pause between storms. They prepare while they smile. The others fell silent. Deep down, they all knew the truth. The galaxy had underestimated Earth not once, but twice. The next mistake could be their end. On Earth, Marcus walked through the War Museum in the ruins of Old London. It had been rebuilt after the bombardments. Inside the museum stood statues of ancient soldiers, men and women from old Earth wars holding flags and broken weapons. Ross joined him quietly.
Sir, the Council sent a message.
They request peace talks. Marcus looked at the statues for a long time before answering. Do you think they want peace, or do they just want time to prepare? Ross hesitated. Maybe both, sir. Marcus nodded slowly. Then we'll listen, but we'll keep building. Humans have learned what happens when we trust too easily. He placed a hand on one of the statues, a soldier made of stone, looking toward the sky. Our ancestors fought for this planet with sticks and fire. Now we fight with stars. But the reason is still the same: to survive. In orbit, Helios and Goliath stood ready, their pilots waiting for the next command. The Skyguard drones circled quietly above the clouds. For the moment, there was peace, but it was a fragile one. Nora looked out from her cockpit, her voice soft. Do you think they'll ever understand us? Darren replied, maybe one day, but not today. The stars glowed silently in the distance as if watching, and across the galaxy countless species whispered the same new truth. Do not anger the children of Earth. The war had reached its final stage. The sky around Jupiter burned like a second sun as the last of the alien fleets gathered. They had once called themselves conquerors, masters of the stars, but now they were only survivors trying to escape the storm they had created. General Marcus Hale stood inside the command center aboard the Earth flagship Valor's Reach. His face was pale from exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp as steel. Around him, holographic displays showed the battlefront, hundreds of ships fighting, burning, and falling into Jupiter's endless clouds. Signal from Titan Squad, one officer said. They're in position near the alien command vessel. Marcus nodded slowly. Tell them the final push begins now. For a brief moment, silence filled the command deck. Then Marcus spoke again, his voice calm but powerful. Today, the galaxy learns what happens when they try to break the children of Earth. The human fleet moved as one. Thousands of engines ignited across space, painting the darkness with bright trails of light. The alien commander, Admiral Varric, watched from his ship, his hands trembling. He could not believe what he saw. Humans were charging again. They had lost ships, lives, and cities, yet they still came forward like waves that would never stop. They don't retreat, one alien officer whispered. It's like they do not fear death. Admiral Varric turned away. No, they fear something else more than death. That is why we cannot defeat them. Far below the main fleet, Titan Squad soared through the void. 6 giant war machines, each shaped like a humanoid figure of steel and fire, moved with silent grace. Their armor reflected the glow of Jupiter's storms. Inside one of them, Nora Vance tightened her grip on the control handles. Her Titan Helios hummed with power. Marcus has given the order, she said through the comms. We strike the command ship directly. No hesitation, the other pilots confirmed. They were tired, their voices heavy with fatigue. But none of them were afraid. Their mission was clear: destroy the alien command corps, cut off their fleet and end the war. The alien flagship was enormous, built like a floating city of silver spires and dark armor. Energy shields shimmered around it, and hundreds of defense turrets waited. But when the Titans approached, those defenses opened fire too late. Missiles streaked through the blackness, laser beams flashed, and explosions danced around the human mechs. Yet the Titans moved forward, cutting through the storm of light with unshaken will. Nora aimed Helios's rail cannon and fired. The blast tore through one of the alien engines, sending fragments spinning into space. Target breach confirmed, she reported. Another Titan, Argent Wolf, charged forward. using its energy blade to slice through a cruiser that blocked their path. The voice of its pilot came over the radio, steady and proud. "We're breaking through, Commander." Inside the alien flagship, Admiral Varric could hear the impact of human weapons shaking the ship's hull. His crew shouted reports, shields failing, systems breaking, the core overheating. He tried one last desperate act. "Send message to the human command. I will request a truce." The communication officer turned to him with fear in his eyes. "Sir, they are not responding." Varric swallowed hard. He had once believed humans were weak and sentimental, that they could be easily broken by showing them power. But now he saw the truth. Human mercy had limits and he had crossed them. "Transmit my message anyway," he ordered. "Tell them we surrender." On the Valor's reach, Marcus received the signal. His officers looked at him, waiting for his command. "Sir, the alien admiral is requesting a truce," one of them said. "He says they surrender." Marcus stared at the holographic display of the battlefield. He saw the hundreds of human ships burning. He thought of the cities lost, the people buried under alien fire, the families that would never see their loved ones again. He closed his eyes for a second, and then opened them again. "Play my message to them." A calm, cold voice echoed across the alien fleet. "You taught us that mercy was weakness. You should not have taught us that." And with that, he gave the final order. "All units, finish it." The Titan struck with fury and precision. Helios led the charge, breaking through the flagship's outer hull. Metal screamed as the mech tore open the main chamber. Inside, Varric watched through the main window as the giant figure of steel descended upon his ship like a god of war. For a brief moment, he understood the meaning of fear, the kind that shakes the soul. "Forgive us," he whispered. Nora locked onto the core reactor and fired the main cannon. The explosion was silent in the vacuum of space, but bright enough to light the whole battlefront. The alien flagship shattered, breaking into a million glowing fragments that drifted into Jupiter's atmosphere. The shockwave rippled through the enemy lines. Without leadership, their fleets broke apart. Some ships fled, others tried to surrender, but the human fleet was unstoppable now. Within hours, it was over. Silence fell over the battlefield. Only the debris of destroyed ships floated across the dark space. The once mighty alien armada was gone. In the command center, Marcus stood quietly, watching the final readings on the screens. "It's done," an officer said softly. Marcus nodded but did not smile. "How many did we lose?" "Too many," came the answer. "But Earth stands." Marcus walked to the large window that overlooked space. His reflection stared back at him. A soldier who had seen too much, lost too much, but never given up. He whispered to himself, "We were never monsters. We just became what the galaxy forced us to be." On the surface of Mars, fires still burned where battles had taken place, but the sky was clear for the first time in weeks. Survivors came out of bunkers. Children looked at the stars again, and old soldiers wept in silence. In orbit, Helios returned to its dock, its armor scorched and cracked. Nora stepped out, removing her helmet. Her face was tired but peaceful. She looked at the stars and whispered, "We did it." Another pilot placed a hand on her shoulder. "You think they'll come back?" "Maybe," she said, "but next time they'll remember what waits for them here." Back on Earth, cities began to rebuild. The people of the planet, once divided, now stood united. The story of the monsters of Earth spread across the stars. Worlds that had mocked humanity now spoke their name with respect and fear. In faraway systems, alien historians recorded the event as the Day of Mercy Lost, the day when humanity showed that even peace-loving beings have limits. But to the humans themselves, it was simply the day they survived together. That night, as the fleet drifted near the calm edge of space, Marcus stood before a group of young soldiers. The stars outside shone bright, reflecting in his tired eyes. He said quietly, "We did not fight because we loved war. We fought because we had no choice. And if one day the galaxy forgets this lesson, then they will face the same fire again." The soldiers nodded. No one cheered, no one celebrated. They had won, but their victory was built from pain and unity. Marcus looked out once more at the stars and whispered, "May this be enough. May this be the last time we must become monsters." And so the galaxy fell silent. The humans, once seen as fragile, had risen higher than anyone imagined. The invaders had begged for mercy and learned too late that Earth had none left to give. But among the quiet stars, one truth would remain for generations. The galaxy had changed. No one who had seen the war would ever forget it. The Dominion fleets that had once conquered entire systems were scattered or destroyed. The Council itself had been shaken to its core. Every race that had underestimated Earth now whispered the same warning across distant worlds. Do not provoke the children of Sol. On Earth, life was slowly returning to normal, but the people knew normal would never be the same. Cities rebuilt faster than ever. Factories that once produced only civilian goods now built fleets, titans, and advanced defense systems. The world had learned a lesson in unity, and humans were stronger because of it. General Marcus Hale walked through the central plaza of New London, now rebuilt after the bombardments. Children ran around, playing with toys that were modeled after the Titans. People smiled, laughed, and worked together. But Marcus saw the deeper change. The pride, the determination, the unyielding spirit that had saved humanity. Lieutenant Ross joined him. Sir, the Council worlds are sending messages again. They want to negotiate. They want treaties. They want assurances. Marcus shook his head slowly. They don't understand. We don't negotiate because we are weak. We negotiate because now the galaxy knows we cannot be crushed. Ross looked out at the horizon. Do you think they'll ever truly respect us? Marcus's eyes softened. Respect? Maybe fear? Definitely. And sometimes fear is the only way to protect peace. In orbit, the Titans and Skyguard fleets floated like silent guardians. Helios and Goliath, though scarred from battle, stood tall. Their pilots watched as new recruits arrived, eager to learn, eager to protect. Nora Vance stood in her cockpit, looking at the view of Earth. She remembered the first time she had piloted Helios, trembling with fear and excitement. Now she felt something different, pride. Darren Cole joined her in comms. You know, people will tell stories about us for years. Nora smiled faintly. I hope they tell the truth. Not that we were invincible, but that we never gave up. A transmission came from Marcus. Prepare for a demonstration. Council worlds are watching. Show them what humanity has become. Nora nodded. Helios powered up fully, boosters glowing bright. Alongside her, the other Titans and drones formed a formation in orbit. The demonstration was not for war. It was a message. A message to the galaxy that Earth was united, prepared, and not to be taken lightly. Across the galaxy, ambassadors watched in awe. Holoscreens displayed hundreds of Titans standing like giants across continents, drones forming geometric patterns in orbit, and ships ready to defend humanity at any cost. Counselor Rhinoth leaned forward, whispering to his assistants. They are not the same children we underestimated. They have become something else. Something the galaxy cannot ignore, the ambassadors whispered among themselves. This display was not just power. It was intelligence, discipline, and coordination. Humans had taken every lesson from the invasion and turned it into strength. This is terrifying, said one representative. They do not strike, yet their presence alone commands respect. Rhinoth nodded. And that is precisely the point. They have risen not from hatred, but from survival. The galaxy will remember them. Back on Earth, Marcus held a council with the leading generals and scientists. The reconstruction of Earth had been faster than anyone imagined. The new Titan units were more advanced than the ones used in the last war. Skyguard drones could patrol multiple star systems simultaneously. Even the ancient Pluto cannon had been upgraded to operate automatically, ready to defend the Sol system at a moment's notice. This is not just defense, Marcus said, pacing before the group. This is deterrence. The galaxy must know we are strong, not to attack, but to protect what is ours. One young officer asked nervously, Sir, do you think they'll ever stop testing us? Marcus smiled faintly. Some will try, others will watch. But all will remember, and that memory will be our shield. In the far reaches of the galaxy, the remnants of the Dominion fleets tried to regroup. Their leaders met secretly, debating whether they could rebuild and strike again. But the fear of humanity had settled into their minds. Every system they passed, every world they visited, carried stories of the Titan squads, the Pluto cannon, and the invincible human fleet. The thought of facing them again caused hesitation. Even the strongest commanders wondered if humanity was no longer a single planet, but a force that could challenge the galaxy itself. On Earth, Marcus visited the rebuilt academy where young pilots trained. He watched children practice Titan controls in simulators. Their hands were small, their movements careful, but the determination in their eyes mirrored that of their parents, their mentors, and the veterans of the war. Nora walked beside him, smiling. "They'll be ready one day." "They will," Marcus said quietly. "And maybe one day they will do even more than we have." A young student approached, holding a miniature model of Helios. "Sir, will we really be able to protect Earth like you did?" Marcus knelt to meet the child's eyes. "Yes," he said, "because Earth is not just a planet. It is people. And as long as we stand together, no one will ever take it from us." In orbit above the rebuilt cities, Titan squads conducted training exercises. They moved in perfect coordination, anticipating each other's movements. Helios, Goliath, Aurora, and the rest of the squadron displayed a ballet of precision and power. The Skyguard drones formed rings and patterns, scanning the horizon and testing new defensive algorithms. It was a demonstration not for war, but for confidence. Humanity had survived, learned, and become more than a species. It had become a symbol of resilience. Marcus stood in the command room aboard Valor's Reach, watching the results of the simulations. The galaxy was quiet now, but the silence carried weight. Every fleet, every ambassador, every observer would remember this moment. "Earth has risen," he said softly, "and we will not forget what it took to get here. The galaxy will learn to respect us, not because we threatened them, but because we survived when no one thought we could." Nora sat in Helios, looking down at the blue planet below. She remembered the cries of people fleeing, the fires in the cities, the alien ships burning in orbit. She remembered the first Titan rising from the ice and the first beam that shattered the Dominion flagship. She smiled. "We've come a long way," she whispered. Darren Cole's voice came through comms. "And we're only getting started. Humanity's story is just beginning." Across the continents, people looked to the sky, proud of what their species had achieved. For the first time, humans did not feel small in the universe. For the first time, they knew that their courage, unity, and intelligence made them capable of standing against any threat. In the far corners of the galaxy, the message spread. Histories were rewritten. Tales of the monsters of Earth circulated from planet to planet, not as a warning of hatred, but as a testament to resilience and survival. The Council, shaken but wiser, adjusted its strategies. They no longer underestimated Earth. Instead, they prepared to negotiate and learn, knowing that peace with humans was built on respect, strength, and the understanding that Earth would never bow lightly again. On the surface, Marcus Hale watched the sunset. The battlefield was gone, but the scars remained. Humanity had survived through fire and steel, through courage and unity. The Titans stood as guardians. The Skyguard drones patrolled the skies, and Earth had risen, not to conquer, but to protect what was its own. Ross approached. "Sir, do you think the galaxy will ever stop fearing us?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Perhaps not, but that is not the point. They will respect us, and that is enough." Nora came to stand beside them, removing her helmet. "We fought for our planet," she said. "But we also fought for the idea that humans will not give up. That is our true power," Marcus nodded. "Yes, and the galaxy has learned it the hard way." As night fell, the stars above Earth shone brighter than ever. The people of the planet slept with peace in their hearts, knowing that the children of Sol had survived. The Titans rested. The drones hovered silently, and the warships returned to port. Humanity had risen from the brink of annihilation to become a force that no one would dare challenge lightly. And in the quiet, Marcus whispered to the stars, "We did not want war. But when it came, we made sure the galaxy would never forget us. Earth survives, humanity rises, and the children of Sol will always endure." The galaxy would remember that day, not as the day of defeat or conquest, but as the day the humans faced impossible odds and stood unbroken. The day the monsters of Earth became legends.